right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating psychology behind the multilingual mind, and we're going to reveal how speaking multiple languages fundamentally rewires your brain. I am incredibly excited to guide you through this material today because, honestly, we're looking at research that completely flips the script on what it actually means to be bilingual or multilingual. We aren't just talking about memorizing vocabulary here. We're talking about an entirely different cognitive operating system. Most people kind of just think of language as a tool, right? Like a basic, practical utility for getting from point A to point B in a conversation. But the raw psychological reality we're exploring today completely shatters that view. The multilingual mind is literally built differently from the ground up. And this really highlights the massive gap between what society thinks bilingualism is, just a handy travel skill or a quick resume booster, and the actual reality. The hard truth is that it's not just about knowing more words. What we're actually looking at is a fundamental rewiring of how a person perceives reality, how they construct their identity, and even how they process emotion. Okay, let's jump straight into section 1, the multilingual mindset shift. So here's the crucial thing. If you speak multiple languages, you aren't just translating words back and forth in your head. Your brain has physically and psychologically evolved to be incredibly adaptable. You possess this layered, uniquely powerful mindset that is just built differently than the standard monolingual model. And this foundational shift really sets the stage for some very specific, rare cognitive traits that we're going to dig into right now. Moving right along to section 2, flexible identity and emotion. Now, check out this psychological term, contextual identity shifting. It sounds intense, right? Basically, it means multilingual people don't just have one fixed personality. Their tone, their sense of humor, their level of confidence, and even their actual emotional expressions naturally shift depending on which language they're using at the time. You aren't pretending to be someone else, you're transforming to fit the cultural norms built directly into the language. It's like being a bit more direct in German or naturally more differential in Japanese. It makes multilinguals incredibly adept at reading a room and blending in seamlessly. And because of that deep social adaptability, you develop what I like to call micro-detail awareness. Multilingual brains basically go on autopilot, scanning for non-verbal cues. We're talking subtle shifts in mood, tiny changes in tone, the smallest facial expressions. They're constantly scanning for hidden meaning and sensing tension way before the vocabulary even fails. It literally becomes this automatic, intuitive survival skill. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, this constant switching of emotional frameworks means multilingual people notice what you mean, not just what you say. It acts as a built-in empathy engine. Because they're so used to adjusting their communication based on highly specific cultural contexts, they can decode feelings with so much more accuracy, giving them remarkably advanced social cognition and way higher emotional intelligence. Let's dive into section 3, the upgraded cognitive engine. Okay, think about it like this. If you only speak one language, your thoughts are essentially boxed in by the vocabulary and grammar of that specific structure. But a multilingual brain, it uses concept-based thinking. It reaches into this vast mental toolbox and pulls out whichever language expresses a specific idea the absolute best. This inherently leads to sharper problem-solving abilities and a massive, massive boost in pure creativity. Managing all of this is a constant, high-intensity mental workout. Just look at the cognitive load happening in real time here. Your brain is processing varying accents, applying entirely different complex grammar rules, and navigating cultural expectations, all at the exact same time. It's a staggering amount of computational complexity for the brain to handle. And carrying that heavy cognitive load builds some serious mental endurance. Because their brains are essentially doing cognitive heavy lifting all day long, multilingual people develop incredible executive control. So when pressure mounts or a situation changes rapidly, their mind is already conditioned to handle the complexity without panicking. They stay calm and perform. Which brings us to section 4, memory and multi-lens realities. There is this incredibly powerful quote from the research. You don't just translate words, you translate entire realities. I absolutely love that. Every language carries its own unique worldview. And this isn't just poetry, it's a hard cognitive fact. When you learn a language, you are inheriting an entirely new framework for how to view existence, society, and relationships. You're literally stepping into a totally different reality. Because multilingual memory isn't just a straight line, it's layered. Different languages attach themselves to different phases of your life. It's almost as if the brain has distinct memory systems running in parallel. So, a childhood memory formed in Spanish carries an entirely different emotional atmosphere than, say, a college memory formed in English. The emotions are literally hardwired to the language you were speaking at the time. And this all leads to what we call multi-lens perception. By seeing the world through these multiple cultural lenses, your mind naturally recognizes perspectives that most people don't even realize exist. You see that there isn't just one truth. You can view an issue from 3 different cultural angles simultaneously, and that naturally makes you less judgmental, incredibly open-minded, and much, much harder to manipulate by a single narrative. Let's bring it all together in Section 5, Who You Become. Ultimately, being multilingual is way more than just the words you can say. It's about who you actually become. You're no longer just a communicator passing messages back and forth. You have evolved. Your brain's architecture has adapted to make you a highly perceptive, resilient bridge between entirely different versions of reality. I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. Based on the raw psychology we've explored today, how many languages do you speak, and have you personally noticed your own personality shifting between them? Think about the contexts, the tone shifts, and the emotional resonance you feel when you switch. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this deep dive has completely transformed how you view the incredible power of the multilingual mind.